It is 10:06 and time for the Saturday special with Michael Zwerling.
Griffin Queener,
Yes.
may I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
How many times do you take a nice warm shower?
At least once per day.
Really?
Yeah.
I just took my annual nice warm shower
Oh, wow.
in honor of the 68th anniversary of my birth, which is today.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, oh, here, someone has to wish me happy.
Happy birthday, and
Yeah,
what a nice cake you have for your birthday.
Dave Michaels got me this wonderful New York cheesecake.
Oh, amazing. I
This
love
stuff
cheesecake.
Yeah. And I was sort of sad because no one had called me to wish me a happy 68th anniversary. See, I don't use the word birthday because there's only one birthday. It's the day you were born, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so all the others are anniversaries. So this is the 68th anniversary of my birth.
This is your mother's anniversary.
No, it's my anniversary of
She's
having
the one
been
that
born.
did all the labor.
Well, that's true too. I'm not saying it's not. Anyhow, we have to get our terms correct
Right,
here on the
of course.
Saturday special, or it wouldn't be right. There I was feeling, I was whimpering a little bit, and I drove, and as I approached the radio station, there was a big crowd of people here, and I thought it was a surprise party for me, but no. It was just some people to clean up the damn lagoon, but I guess that's good.
Yeah,
I guess that's good, but it's not as good as if I would have had a party, a surprise party. But anyhow, as long as someone wished me.
Well, we're going to spank you 68 times during the middle of this show.
All right.
It'll be fun.
That voice belongs to, it belongs to, can anybody guess who that belongs to? 479-1080, area 831. I know you can guess, Griffin.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much of a guess for me.
Yeah, but maybe someone in the audience can call 479-1080, and they'll win a prize if they get the right. By the way, speaking of prizes, where is Dave Michaels?
I can go grab him.
Oh, he needs to come and do a promo before we start this show. Oh, my God. My guess is that he's busy with a customer. Do customers come first, or does a commercial on the radio come first to get more customers? Right?
I guess you need an ad. And get
Is it the
people to come
chicken or the egg that came first? Well, it's the chicken. No, it was the egg. No, it was the chicken. No, it was the egg. And so it just keeps going back and forth.
Right.
But I do, in this case, believe that it is more important for Dave to do a live promo for people to come and make themselves healthier, because on this occasion of the 68th anniversary of my birth, we are going to do something very special. Aren't we, Dave Michaels?
Hey.
Aren't we? Yeah. It says it's live.
Does it?
Live? Yeah, it's live,
Okay.
but it's not.
All right. Oh, the light's burned out.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited. Keith McHenry is here again. Thank you for stopping
You
by. This is gonna
ruined
be
the
great.
competition.
It's okay. Nobody called anyhow.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Jeez. Well, you could dump it.
Yeah, now we don't have to give away now we don't have to give away $1,080 worth of free stuff.
Oh, great. See,
Yeah,
we
so
just saved
thank
money.
you. Yeah, that's good.
We're making money.
Oh, here I go, just walking in and go and blow the whole thing. Gosh, darn it.
It's okay, Dave. You have the company's interest at heart.
All right.
And you always do. Even this time, you didn't realize it.
Yeah, geez, sorry about that. But I am excited, and I'm sure it's going to be another good show, MZ. You have this, you're on a run. Really good stuff.
Well, I was starting to doubt it, and then I'd say, "Oh my God, I think I can always rely on Keith, right?" Because and we're having fun now, but it is a very serious and even somber topic.
It is.
So I don't want to make light of that, but what we and I don't want to make light of how important it is for people to come to the Dave Cave.
Right.
Where now, what are we going to do? Are we going to extend the buy two and get one, or in honor of the 68th anniversary of my birth, are we going to say buy three and get two?
I like that. I like that even better.
if people want to give me a nice present,
They
right?
pay extra.
Pay for 3 and get 2.
Yeah.
And let us keep the third one.
Yeah.
So we have an extra one to sell.
Maybe we'll go with the other one, though. Buy 2, get 1 free.
Okay.
That might work out a little bit better.
All righty. So,
Okay.
and you're pretty well stocked, are you
We're
still?
we're stocked well enough to get you hooked up with a good deal. Yes.
Okay. Very
right.
good. So, yeah, and I guess the people that I thought were here for my surprise party are out cleaning the lagoon, which needs it, which
Right.
definitely
And they're
needs
going to have
its
pizza
coastal
afterwards, so we can go over there and just take over the pizza
Is
party
your mic
afterwards.
wet? Mine is. I've got drool all over it. Okay.
Okay, I'll be out there in the Dave Cave until 2. Keith, good to see you. Sorry I blew
Good
the
to see you,
surprise.
Dave. No problem.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So how come I can't? Do I have the wrong thing? Hey, Griffin Queener. Wait a second. Oh, I have to push the button so that we can start the program. You know, we need to have 2 mice instead of a switch to switch the mouse between the 2 computers. Because I'm just not very bright, particularly on the 68th anniversary of my birth. But I finally figured out what was wrong, so now we're going to start the show officially. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, a brighter day is here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Good morning. Wait a minute. Didn't mean to blast your earballs out. All right, MZ here. I've had a senior moment live on the radio. Oh, welcoming you to hour number 1 of the Saturday special. Your favorite program on your favorite radio station. That's presumptuous.
Good morning, now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Well, even though the beans have been spilt, as it were, by Dave Michaels, I am still going to officially re-welcome our good friend, Keith McHenry,
Thank you.
who is the co-founder of Food Not Bomb, or the founder? Co-founder.
I'm the
I think.
co-founder.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there's 8 of us originally. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were on a Saturday special, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something
Yeah,
like
something
that?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you are all about is making the tragedy of homelessness better for people who find themselves in that situation. And there are increasing numbers of such people.
Yeah, it's incredible how many new faces are arriving at Food Not Bombs each week. And sadly, a huge number of them are women who have just had their homes towed, their cars towed. And they come and they go, wow, I just lost all my medicine. I lost my ID. I lost my photo album of my kids because the car was towed and I don't have the money to get it back. And there's nothing I can do about it. And there's that look of shock when they arrive. And that's the new stepped-up policy of our local city is to deprive people of the homes, their vehicles that they live in.
Wow. Yeah, I know we covered, pardon me, a little bit of that last week, last time you were on. But how many times would you say that's happened since, the last 3 weeks?
Oh, probably, I think I've run into 5, 6 women have come to me. There was a woman, Jennifer, was living in a tent at, she moved in, she lost her vehicle. She then was frightened of people like harassing her in a doorway on Front Street. And then she moved into a tent with a group of people at the post office. And that was her, and she celebrated her 45th anniversary in a tent at the post office.
What?
Yep.
Wait a minute. 45th anniversary.
Her birthday. She told me that today's my birthday, and I spent it in this tent because it was so. She was very, attractive young woman, and I can imagine, and she lost her car and all of her belongings. And another friend of mine, Jonathan, he was living at the main beach, and then they kicked everyone off the main beach, and then he comes to me. He has a skateboard. I said, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's my friend's skateboard. I lost everything, including my ID, and he lost everything, and all we retrieved was the skateboard. And he had no coat. He had a T-shirt. It was, and it was getting dark, and he was." We're like rummaging through all the stuff in the Food Not Bombs van, trying to find warm things to give to him and two other people who lost everything when they got kicked off of the main beach. This is every day we had. That was at the Little Red Church on a Monday.
The last caller on the last program you were on was incredibly articulate. And so both you and I thought it would be a great idea if she could come. And she's here. Will you introduce?
Yeah, this is the president of the Santa Cruz Homeless Union. She was one of the people at the Ross Camp Council. She was one of the principal authors of the federal lawsuit against the city of Santa Cruz to attempt to stop the eviction of at least 200 people out of Ross Camp into the woods, into the doorways of downtown Santa Cruz, as was testified by her and by myself and others in San Jose. And it's Alicia Kuhl, esteemed president of the Santa Cruz Homeless Union.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction, and I am proud to be here.
Alicia, was it your idea to start this union?
The Homeless Union? No. I was kind of recruited into the Homeless Union, but it was my idea to start the Ross Camp Council so that they could have a voice within that camp that we had, the largest homeless encampment that Santa Cruz has ever had.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it was, as testified by a number of the plaintiffs in that case, that women had moved into that camp for protection. And there were testimony of people being sexually assaulted, testimony of by a friend of a person who had been raped and then killed. And that was why it was in part so important to keep Ross Camp together. And there was a huge effort by the camp council and by residents of the camp to try to clean it up. The community came out.
Yeah, we organized 2 separate cleanings, actually.
Yep. And there
were 2 separate cleanings,
yes.
Or there was supposed to be before it was shut down?
No, there were. Before it was shut down, there were 2 separate cleanings in order to rectify some of the concerns that the city had so that they wouldn't force the shutdown. We were trying to basically, take care of all their concerns so they wouldn't have to go that route or force that route.
Right. And then we actually in federal court, we provided that because you need to have a settlement, right? There was negotiations, and we provided a number of solutions, including moving sections of the camp completely out for a short while to rake up everything and to place less campers in that physical space and create a second space for the people that couldn't fit in the Ross Camp if we kept the tents separated according to what the fire marshal wanted us to do. So we proposed that, but the response by Susie O'Hare, the city manager's assistant city manager, and Martine Bernal, and the city attorneys was a blank stare. We didn't even get an actual response at all.
Well, it originally started out during our camp council meetings, accepted, like that there
Right.
were some issues that needed to be done. We needed to make some easeways for the fire department to be able to get in and out. And they agreed with us that that could be done without displacing any of the residents of the camp. And so we had about 2 or 3 meetings discussing how that situation would look. And it was kind of, I don't know, promised to us almost that
Yeah.
Parks and Rec would come in and help us do that. And then the next thing you know, they went back to city council and had this big presentation. And I was actually really shocked to hear Susie and the fire, Jason Hyduke, say that suddenly they changed their mind and said that any cleaning would require everyone to leave.
Right.
And so it was a bit shocking. We didn't have to displace all those people in order to, rectify the health and safety concerns.
Right. We had concrete negotiate proposals and that members of the city, as Alicia just said, agreed to, and then that was it. And so we have like.
What do you think caused reversal?
I would say that.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would say for definitely the city attorney and Martine Bernal and Susie O'Hare had really no intention of ultimately doing that. That was possibly just a stalling tactic. So that would be my impression, because Susie has been on the front lines of the anti-homeless efforts for the city for years and years, and that's been, I think, why she was hired.
Really? When you say anti-homeless, what does that mean? Getting rid of the homeless rather than trying to solve the problem?
Correct. Yeah, I think the basic idea, like when she was the city's connection to downtown alliance and all that, it was like, we don't need any homeless people in our town, and just get out. And there's all these myths, of course, that are promoted, of which you can hear promoted at city council meetings by the staff, which are that the homeless we got all these great services, so all the homeless come to Santa Cruz, which, that's, I think I've even mentioned on this show before, I was in Cleveland homeless in the middle of the winter, and they said all the homeless come to Cleveland because the soup kitchen's great there. Well, it was 5 below zero outside. Why would you want to move to Cleveland for a soup kitchen? So that every city says that. Every city's got Homeward Bound, get free bus tickets. In fact, people travel all around the United States using Homeward Bound. Where cities get to pay people to get out of your town. If you want a free ticket to anywhere in the country, including into Hawaii, you go to the city, say, I'm homeless, I want to, my cousin has a place for me in Maui, I need to go there, and they'll buy you a plane ticket and send you to Maui.
Well, and to go back to your original question, I think that it was the growing numbers. I mean, the fact that there were over 200 people there, they didn't necessarily have, total control. It's not a completely managed encampment the way that they are running 1220. People aren't getting wanded. They weren't collecting
how did
data.
That happen? How was it opened in the first place? Did someone who owned the property say, hey, we're not using it for anything else? What do you think?
No, they closed another camp. These survival camps, and I call them survival camps, pop up out of necessity after they've closed other camps. So it's my understanding there was a camp at San Lorenzo that they closed, and so people kind of migrated there. And once a few people came there, the police and Parks and Rec started actually directing people, hey, why don't you go stay over there? And then it became, large. It became overpopulated. It kind of grew into
by anybody's standards,
right?
Yeah. So originally there was the San Lorenzo Benchlands camp, and then they opened what's now called 1220 River at a cost of started out at $90,000 a month for 60.
Last year, right?
Yeah, for 60 people.
It's currently $99,000 a month because the staff now have benefits.
Yeah. So then. At 50, it's $1,500 a month per person living in there.
Where is that now?
That's on
it's the
River Street.
city-sanctioned encampment located at 1220 River.
Yeah. So when they shut that down the first time,
It's ran by the Salvation Army.
Yeah, it was called the Boneyard when they first opened it, and then they realized that didn't sound so good to place 60 homeless people in a place called the Boneyard, so they changed it to the River Street Camp, and then now they've changed it to 1220 River Street Camp.
It originally had barbed wire around it too. We kind of had to make a stink about that.
Yeah,
get the barbed wire removed.
we finally got.
Where is that near? So
It's just past the transit repair yard and everything.
Past
Just
Golf Club Drive.
yeah,
Okay,
just
got
past,
it. On the same side of the
9.
road as the transit.
Correct, right.
Okay.
And so they.
Okay, that's why I hardly ever go there, so I haven't noticed it. So.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't notice if you drove by. It just looks like some shipping containers behind a fence. And
So what about just expanding that, or is it just not possible because it's already bursting at the seams?
yeah, there's no more space there. The other thing is that you have to, because of the anti-homeless sentiment in this town and county and America for you have to do is, for example, the Salvation Army has another shelter with about, I think it's 53 people can fit in it, according to the fire code, over on Laurel Street, across from the outfield of the high school.
Yeah, the actual Salvation Army building, right?
Correct. So what you have to do is you have to gather at the parking lot at Laurel and Front Street and get in a van and be driven down there. You can't walk to there. And you can only come and go from the facilities, or when they open the VFW out on 7th, by van.
Well, they won't be opening the VFW winter shelter this year.
Correct. Yeah, so now we
all.
do not have a winter shelter for people this winter. So
Why is that, and who decided that?
They decided during one of their meetings, the HAP and the county, along with some of the city, decided that the money would be best directed to go to further funding the 1220 River Shelter rather than keeping the VFW open during the winter.
Correct. And then when you go to VFW shelter, it was full all last winter. And what it is you get a gym mat, and you have somebody on your shoulders are touching the people basically to your left and right side. Your feet are touching the feet of the people on the other gym mat just below you. You have to catch the van at when it was happening. You had to catch the van at Laurel in front. They've eventually lengthened it to 6 at night, whereas it used to be 4. So then you were there, you got wanded and searched and everything.
It's not real dignified even if you manage to get in.
Yeah. And then so many people can't get in. And then people...
It's hard for disabled people to sleep on mats on the floor.
Yeah.
But about the wanding and everything, they're looking for needles and things that are bad, right?
Well, what the excuse was that there were 2 people got into an argument and one person stabbed a fork in the arm of another person. And so they had to start wanding people, so people couldn't bring in utensils and knives and stuff.
That thought too, and I remember Desiree on one of the interviews that we were questioning her and talking with her. She said that she can't go to a lot of these shelters that wand you because she does have weapons. That homeless people, and oftentimes they do have to carry a knife or maybe pepper spray. Something to keep themselves safe at night, and especially if you're a woman. And she wasn't willing to give up her safety measures to stay at a shelter.
All right, you mentioned Desiree's name. That's a tragedy that's happened very recently. In fact, subsequent to your last appearance.
Correct, yeah.
KSCO.
On the 27th of October.
Okay,
yeah.
so please
Desiree was my best friend.
Please tell the audience about Desiree.
Well, I met Desiree in, I think, 2008 or 9. We lived at the Rebley Family Shelter together. We were going through a rough time. Desiree was just a really, really good, strong person. She liked to organize people. She had really, really strong beliefs about the homeless and how they should be treated in a dignified way. She was a really good organizer. She basically kind of knew everyone. She was one of those, homeless socialites. And even when she wasn't homeless, she was just knew everybody. She had an apartment in the Beach Flats area for a good couple of years when she finally got her Section 8 voucher. But there was this huge cockroach problem in her apartment, and she asked the management for help with it after trying, for months to fix it on her own. And they kicked her out. and she wasn't, subsequently couldn't find another place. It's really hard if you have a Section 8 voucher to find somebody willing to rent to you and find a good, standard, a good
Safe place to live.
Right, that's
Yeah.
not health and safety, failing.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't find one and became homeless. And when the Ross camp closed, she was big at the Ross camp, she was our lead plaintiff and helped organize that. And when they closed it, she was not offered a place to go. She wasn't offered any of the alternatives. She had PTSD, so she, for the reasons we were talking about, can't stay in a place that's like a gym mat on the floor right next to somebody. She was a victim of abuse when she was younger, so she had several reasons why she couldn't do that. And Susie didn't even offer her so much as a motel voucher when the Ross camp closed, and so she ended up living in a survival camp in the Poganip. And when it was a real windy night, and subsequently a real windy morning, a tree blew over and fell on her when she was checking on another friend in their camp.
So the Susie you're
died.
talking about, she died, yeah. And this was just like 10 days ago or something. Right?
Yeah, the 27th of October. The Diablo winds were blowing.
Oh, that Sunday, yeah.
And at about 9:40, roughly 9:30.
Yeah, she died in the morning.
Yep, the tree
so
crushed her.
if this Susie person,
Susie O'Hara.
who her position is what?
Deputy Assistant City Manager
For the city of Santa Cruz.
for the city of Santa Cruz. And
I just call her assistant to the city manager.
Yeah, she's assistant to the city manager, and she was the main person.
She's the person you were referring to earlier in this program as an anti-homeless person.
Well, to me, she's prevalent in this case because she is the main person that convinced the federal judge that people would be offered adequate alternative shelter before the Ross camp was closed. And
Was
so
it some vendetta against Desiree? Why Desiree didn't get one of these vouchers that apparently Susie had the power to
I
issue?
have a declaration from Desiree. What was it? 3 days before 3 days after the Ross camp
Right.
closed, that she asked Susie while standing on the bridge over there by the Ross camp for a motel voucher if she could be one of the ones to get one. Susie kind of gave her a dirty look and walked away. And I think, this is just speculation, but I think it's punishment for being a plaintiff in the lawsuit because she was one of the people that was trying to sue the city and keep them from closing the camp. And so, yeah, retaliation.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a totally minor thing, but just as an example, I think it was Chris Crone thought that there should be a declaration for announcing that May 24th, 2019 with Food Not Bombs Day, and there was a whole thing he wrote up for that, which many people get. Many organizations in town, and we received an email back from Watkins that under no circumstances, that's the Mayor Watkins, would we give them a declaration calling it Food Not Bombs Day.
And she even said because it was your participation.
Because we were suing the city, and we were part of the lawsuit against the city. So I think there was a really interesting, Alicia served the city in public at city council, and they still fought that.
That was interesting.
And then the federal judge actually stopped the eviction of Ross Camp in an email that occurred during city council debate to vote to kick everyone out of Ross Camp, and they had to shut the meeting down and go behind closed doors to talk about that.
Right. Originally, our TRR was successful for one weekend.
Yep, and I think that my sense is that, and I think a lot of people believe that the city was shocked that homeless people could actually write their own federal lawsuit and stop the city from kicking people out. And I think that freaked them out, that there's kind of like this attitude that the homeless need to be taken care of. They're like children and they're not irresponsible and so on. But the people live, you go to the Poganip, when we went up to the Poganip the last time to see where Desiree was killed, it's just incredible, the inventiveness. And I mean,
I want people to know that there are plenty, dozens, hundreds of people homeless individuals in our community that do not need case management or drug testing. There's nothing at all wrong with them. They just can't afford anything. You know, we have barriers to living here in this area right now. The rents, or anywhere really, the rents are just becoming exceedingly high. The wages are low. That doesn't mean there's, you know, something wrong with you.
Yeah, well, and then also it's shocking how many people that we know that live outside in Santa Cruz are actually going to college, like
I'm
Alicia.
a full-time college student. I'm close to getting my degree. I have, I think, 1 semester left, and I will get a college degree. I will have done it basically on a laptop and my phone in the middle of all this, you know, hecticness and chaos that I've been going through in my life.
Yeah, and there are other plaintiffs in
But you,
and I'm not the only one.
You
Crystal's doing it too, yeah.
You are not homeless at the moment.
Well, I technically am. I live in
What?
an RV. I've been homeless for a year now. And so I should help, you know, change the face of homelessness as well. We are articulate. We are smart. We can speak up for ourselves. I live in an RV. I lost my home in October of last year. I was renting a place in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I come to find out that it was illegal. My landlord had been ordered for several years prior not to rent out these illegal units that he built himself because they were, they were not standard up to code. And the county came out, started demolishing people's homes. 2 people down the way from me, down the mountain, ended up homeless. They had only hours to gather what they could carry and leave. And he didn't provide any hotel for them, even though, you know, that's legally what a landlord should do when that happens. Right. He didn't return my deposit or anything. I was just forced to find another place to live really, really quickly. And unfortunately, thanks to an insurance settlement I had from a car accident, I purchased an RV. And so that's kind of when I became
your home for a year, I guess, right? So far.
It's been a year now. And that's kind of what sparked my turning into a homeless advocate, because I realized how quickly our society and our community looks at you differently. Like, I am the same person. I didn't change. But losing my house and going into an RV, I instantly became like some second-class citizen. The police were harassing me. I couldn't pull into Safeway and buy food for my kids. They were knocking on the RV, suggesting we could be drug dealers, asking us what we're doing there. I mean, there's a lot of anti-homeless harassment and policy that goes on that I became aware of.
Right, but that's not for good reason. Because there is a lot of that bad stuff associated with homelessness.
Well, there's some of that
I
bad stuff.
I don't mean to.
But people in houses do that bad stuff too.
Yeah.
We don't just go up to each and every car and say, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not right.
Well, you know, I was talking to my girlfriend this morning about the women that get, you know, come to me who have been raped in the doorways of downtown Santa Cruz, and she had been talking to her barber or hairdresser, and they go, well, you know, yeah, why are the homeless all raping each other and stuff? And it's like, that's actually not true. That it's more likely that it was a housed person that was attacking people because they feel that there will
superior.
Be no. Yeah, and no repercussions.
Well, you know, it's funny. I got on my homeless advocate page, I just got a message today that there's apparently a homosexual man, a housed individual, that's going around to unhoused men and offering them money for sex. And if they decline, he's saying things like, oh, well, then you'd rather be out here on the streets than you just like to be out here. And so there is people that will take advantage of the vulnerable.
Yeah. And so that, there's...
All right.
I mean, there's like really bad apples in every community. I mean, there's people that live outside that I feed and work with that annoy the heck out of me.
Oh, yeah, nobody's perfect.
But I have housed friends that are just as annoying.
You should defriend them. That's what I've done.
Yeah.
When people that I associate with in some way and sort of feel some sort, at least in the past, have felt some sort of kinship. When they get negative, and when they just drag me down, and when their problems become my problems, I just cut them out of my life. And am I a bad person for doing that?
No.
I think I'm a
do
smart.
what's good for you.
Right.
Yeah, but
What's healthy for you.
the when you organize an all-volunteer movement like Food Not Bombs, you're going to end up. I mean, I can't just tell. We have a policy: everyone can eat at Food Not Bombs, even really annoying housed people.
Everybody. If someone was disruptive, I mean, is there anything somebody could do where you would refuse them and say, hey,
no?
Well, we don't like violence.
Yeah, we don't want violence, but we don't kick people out. We give them food and tell them to get the heck out of the area. Yeah. And we have that issue every once in a while.
And the thing about being homeless is that you're not different from anybody else that's in a house, but your problems, your imperfections, anything that you have going on is just that much more obvious. You don't have any privacy. You don't, your indiscretions are on public view.
Yeah,
So,
if you're
I mean,
a married couple fighting each other, this is, every once in a while, friends of ours, they'll be married, they'll get into a marital dispute, but they do it right there on the street, because where else are they going to do it? I used to have a radio program called Voices of the Homeless on KPFA in Berkeley, and I had to get the show. I had to come up with like a bunch of different, reasons why the first show, second show, so on. And one of them was, what is it like to be a woman deal on the street? And my guest sadly fell asleep during the entire program because she had been freezing with in those days, the San Francisco police under Frank Jordan would confiscate your shoes to try to make you uncomfortable so you would leave town. And she'd been freezing. And so we're in the studio and it was finally warm. But then my next show, I was going to have another show, which was how are people having, like married couples having a sex life on the street and, in tents and things like that without getting harassed for that, and sadly, my program got cut, as did many others at that period of time. But it was really, there's, like, how do you go to work? There are many people who live outside have full-time jobs.
Well, there's a lot of challenges, and especially like in Santa Cruz, we don't have any open restrooms. We have, very few. I know everybody thinks that we have an abundance of resources, but we don't.
No, I don't think anybody thinks. I'd be surprised if anybody thought that, but because we don't.
We don't. I mean, and it shocks me. I was doing some research just the other day, and I couldn't believe that how many millions of dollars are spent on homelessness in Santa Cruz. And really, the only visible thing that I could see is there's a very new campaign, somebody got paid a lot of money to change the name and rebrand the Homeless Service Center to Housing Matters.
Right.
And we got $150 pup tents, and $90,000 a month camp for 60 people with no showers. $99,000 for a campground.
It's terrible.
Yeah, you could almost pay for people to go to like Brighton Beach and camp for that price.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, there's about 15 minutes left in this hour. I wanted to use the hour to do more about laying the foundation, helping our listeners understand, including me, what the plight is. It's obvious. How can anybody with a heart not have that heart broken just to see what's going on? There are tents popping up in neighborhoods now, not encampments, but they can be little mini encampments.
Right.
And that's disturbing to a lot of people. But I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't.
They are your neighbors. They are your neighbors.
Yeah, they're the neighbors now, and I'm not even sure I understand what the laws are, and the laws regarding treatment of the homeless are different within each different municipality.
Well, there's.
I'm assuming, right? I mean,
there's in the Western United States, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said that it was under Martin v. Boise, it was cruel and unusual punishment to ticket people for living outside if you don't offer them shelter. And that was the basis of the litigation against the city for kicking people out of Ross Camp, because according to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, all 200 plus people had to be placed indoors somewhere before they were legally allowed to be forced out in the street. So the city, and particularly Susie O'Hare, gave the impression that all 200 and some people would have a place to go. But just to be clear, there were hotel vouchers for the Santa Cruz Inn, but they originally were offering them for like 5 days, or claiming they might be 5 days at the inn.
They became mostly 2 days.
It was mostly 2 days, and it was like about 20 people for 2 days.
Of people.
And then you noticed if you went to the anywhere at the corner of Broadway, or near the Broadway and where the Santa Cruz Inn, people were camping out all around the hotel because they were only allowed to be there for 2 days. And that was not a solution.
To help you quickly just understand, the city is not supposed to break up these survival encampments unless they have alternative indoor available shelter. And they're doing it anyway. So they're violating Martin versus Boise.
Yep. And now many cities are now, there's an attempt to get this Martin v. Boise into the Supreme Court in December. We will know. But and so the city of Sacramento and the mayor,
this is the state California Supreme Court, or the national?
The national, yeah, because there are camps everywhere. So that's the other thing that's it's not just here. I mean, we have Food Not Bombs chapters in roughly 500 cities in the United States and Canada, and there are camps in Canada and every city in the country has these camps.
And just in California, we have 10 chapters of the California Homeless Union. And that's just in California. And we're national. So, I mean, we have in Boston, Pittsburgh, all over the place, this is an issue.
Yeah, and then we have a conference call with all the different locals in the country. And so our local in Rochester, New York, I had family from Rochester, New York, who got laid off when Kodak went under. Yeah. And they were building luxury condos all through Rochester and forcing the people living on the streets out into the neighborhoods. And you're thinking, Rochester, it's not just Santa Cruz with the beautiful beaches and a tourist area. No one's going for tourism to Rochester, New York. And why are
it's a horrid place.
Yeah, it's not where I would want to buy a luxury condominium. But
evidently people do.
Well, they don't. It's in fact, there's a really interesting book that came out, Homebreaker, and it talks. These properties are often built with no intention really of leasing them or selling the units or renting them out, because they make the money on the building of the building. So like in Manhattan, when we went to the national training for the National Union of the Homeless, there were these huge apartment buildings all around, like some of them 25 stories tall, brand new glass buildings, and nobody in them, because the money was in the whole financial policies that were going on. So like Mnuchin and the head of the Treasury Department, they actually studied the savings and loan crisis and determine how they could make the most money off of intentionally creating the foreclosure crisis, doing whatever they could with that. And instead, I remember a lot of people during the foreclosure crisis, our idea was pay the mortgage, bail out the homeowners so they could pay their mortgages. Because where do you pay your mortgage? To the banks. So you would have a twofer. You would have a person that didn't lose, one of the 8 million people that lost their houses wouldn't have lost their house, and the banks would have ultimately received the money. But no, they just skipped the people who had mortgages and just gave the money directly to the banks. So no wonder there's 8 million people living on the streets of America. There's 8 million houses that were just transferred to, to speculators, and has a huge role in why there's 8 million people living outside in America.
Wow.
It's a crime.
This is not coming out. I mean, I didn't understand that. And I'm taking you at your word because you sound very logical.
Yeah. Well, we all were watching the foreclosure crisis. I remember standing back during the foreclosure crisis at the post office, and we're all talking. It turned out that the three women who looked very proper and well-to-do and everything had lost their homes, and they were living in a very expensive vehicles that were no longer worth very much because they'd owned them for a couple of years, and it was three of the people were actually realtors because, of course, when the housing crisis happened, people weren't buying houses, they weren't getting commissions, and now they were out on the street.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then Alicia, this is the thing that is amazing about us restarting the National Union of the Homeless, something I was associated with back in the 90s, is the Alicias of America. There's college-educated, smart, clean and sober people, professional people. There are software engineers who their company just did something completely stupid and ended up like laying off their engineers, and they wander around. Some of these people you see downtown Santa Cruz actually were in high tech just a few years ago. So it's an amazing thing. We have a professional class of people who live on our streets who are super capable. So there is actually a lot of hope in that the homeless community is very skilled. How many people do I know who built houses and were injured, and now I had a number of friends that lived at the post office before the last sweep at the post office, last major sweep, who had been working construction, and they broke their back or something like, lost their hand. They were many of the people in America that live outside are the people that actually, wired people's mansions and houses. The people that live outside built the United States of America, and now they don't even qualify to live in the buildings that they helped build.
And a lot of people are just one paycheck or one disaster away from, that being their reality right now.
Yeah, half of America lives at or below the poverty level.
Do you think it's realistic for us to use the next hour number 2, which we only have 7 more minutes on this hour? We have not opened the phone lines. Steve in Pacific Grove has been waiting for over 30 minutes to go on. There were a couple others who dropped off. I don't feel bad about that because we didn't invite any callers anyhow yet. But I want to do callers.
Yes, for sure.
Next whole hour.
I'm good with that.
And I don't. But here's what I want to happen. Maybe it's not realistic. I want everything to be solution oriented.
Yeah, we're happy to
not
provide
bitch
that.
oriented.
So do I.
And I'm sure that one of the people, because on the screen, Griffin, who screens the calls, put that there was someone named Joan, I think it was, who is tired of this guest. And right, is that what you put on the yeah? So this was, I was already prejudiced against this caller, who hadn't even been asked to call yet. But it's okay if you're not asked to call.
Right.
But don't be insulted if I don't take your call.
Right.
Before we've invited calls.
Is it you, Keith?
Okay.
Are they tired of you?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I think
I hope
that's
it's
what
you
they.
and not
That's
me.
what. That's
Yeah,
what.
you have not been a guest long enough to be tired of.
Yeah, that's what Griffin's nodding, right? It's Keith
Yeah.
that this Joan person
Well, there's
was,
at least that.
was tired of. Okay. Well, if the person, maybe the person will call back, but you know what? I don't even want the person to call back if they're nothing but a troll. I'm sick and tired of trolls being the users, the almost exclusive users of talk radio. If that's all we can get, I don't even want to be in this business anymore.
Right.
I'm
Well, it's just
dead
like,
serious about that.
Yeah, it's like nextdoor.com. so many people, well, you'll be on that, and it's just horrible, horrible, horrible about the homeless.
Bitch,
and then
bitch.
Yeah,
They come up with nothing, no solutions about. But I don't want to be the same way.
Right, we don't want to be doing that.
We're sort of bitching a little bit now. I'm bitching about the people
that
who
bitch. Right.
So I'm sort of a hypocrite myself.
Right.
You know.
But no, there are solutions. You know, when I started Food Not Bombs in 1980 with my friends, the word homelessness didn't even hardly exist, and there was only one shelter in Boston called the Pine Street Inn, and it had like less than 50 people that would go there in the bitter cold and sit around in a tile room, and there was estimated less than 100,000 people living outside. And it's not like some reason millions of Americans thought urban camping was the greatest way to go.
No, this has grown for a reason.
Yep. Yeah, by the end of the Reagan administration, sadly, because of changes of policies and you know, some things were potentially positive that I'm against militarism, but apparently that broke the back of the Soviet Union, but it also hurt our country, and you know, we didn't collapse like the Soviet Union, but our workers ended up on the streets.
Okay, so you have Keith McHenry and Alicia Kuhl, right, as our guests today on the Saturday special. Next hour, we're going to try like hell to be positive with solutions to the homeless problem. It's got to be the toughest problem there is to solve. That's why it's such a hard problem and seems to be getting worse, right?
Yeah, although I have to say, a friend of mine, Paul Bowden, who I met living on the streets in San Francisco years ago, he is often quoted that the solution to homelessness is a home.
Right.
It's basically that simple.
And it's not that the homelessness is the problem; it's the root causes that
does
caused
anybody know? I thought about asking Roland Rebele, who, along with his wife, had put up the funds for the Rebele shelter.
Yeah,
that's there.
Yeah, they're wonderful people.
Yeah. Do you happen to have contact?
I don't. I have his mailing address, but I don't have his phone number.
Okay, we had him on the Saturday special once, probably 20 years ago.
And then Dick and Paul Lee, he is still on the front lines of. I have Paul's phone number.
Yeah, I think I do too, actually.
Yeah, I mean these people, the Paul Lee Loft and the Reveille shelter. I mean these people, and you remember that struggle for that. They worked so hard because there was an attempt to put it where Ross, you know, the shelter was allegedly originally proposed to be where Ross Dress for Less is, but then there was an idea. Well, that's too much in town. We should move it across the street before Costco was there, and that so it was supposed to be on the edge of town.
It was there before Costco. I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
Because Costco's been there since what, 94 or something.
Maybe
94. Certainly 90 by 95.
It was around that same time they were moving. So then, you know, that neighborhood was kind of a write-off. Now the houses there are worth something. You know, so you know, it's just pushing people around is really not accomplishing much at all, you know, except for, you know, I have a friend Lucero that lives on the street, and she taught me something interesting about women living on the street. The way she does it is because I asked her if she wanted one of my sleeping bags, because I just got a good donation of sleeping bags. No, I just walk around. It's not safe for me to sleep anywhere, so I walk all night.
What?
Yeah, and
How can anybody do that? You gotta have sleep.
She sleeps in the day.
Yeah, I know.
That's what most people do is sleep in the day, because even when it used to be, it's actually technically illegal to sleep between the hours of 11:30 and 8 in the morning in Santa Cruz, in a car or outside anywhere.
But you know, she got woken up at the library doing this.
Yeah, so she just got woken up at the library by a false alarm, and so you know it's a tragedy. So she takes photos all night of the people living outside. Mm-hmm. It's incredible to go to her Facebook page and see dozens of people living in doorways.
We're going to try to do some positive. Not that we haven't already, because I think it's so important for people to understand what's really going on. Anyhow, so stay with us, Monterey Bay, Silicon Valley, Santa Cruz. This is KSCO Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey.
Sitting in the low 70s and then dropping down to the mid 60s this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to be partially cloudy weather across the board, and now it is 11:06 and time to return to the Saturday special with Michael Zwerling.
Griffin Queener.
Yes.
Hey, I forgot to check my email
Oh.
because I'm getting old and I forget those kinds of things.
Well, I think that's excusable,
All right, I'm going to check it right now to see if anybody sent an email last hour. And if they, oh my gosh. Well, okay, Sustainable Sir did. The root cause of home. Okay, mz@ksco.com if you don't want to call, but you want to participate in the program. Otherwise, call 831-479-1080 if you want to go on the program live with Keith and Alicia and poor old MZ. And Dave is in the cave, and the deals are just, they're deals to squeal for, that are deals to squeal. I heard him say that once. You were going to say.
Where's your music, the calling music?
Oh, I know. Thank you. We will. It doesn't feel right until
we can't take a call.
For sure. Okay, so I think this is what you're talking about, Keith McHenry.
That's why they call this the voice of the homeless. KSCO, the voice of the homeless.
Yeah, wow.
The home of the homeless.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Oh, my. I think I have gotten it down about the cooking level on the micro oven.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Because the frozen hamburger I just nuked, and I offered it to you guys, but you're vegans, so you weren't interested. But Dave is back, so he must have a message, Dave.
Actually, I just have a question that I want answered today before you guys get off the air. Number one, I'm going to start off with the little thing that I saw on my way. I live in a bad part of town of Watsonville. I see a bunch of stuff every day, man. And the other night, I saw this woman who was huddled over her cart, and it was freezing cold. And I felt so bad. God, I felt so bad for her because she didn't have a jacket. And you could tell everything she had was in that cart. And she's huddled over it, and I'm wondering, is what's she gonna do? This, I mean, I couldn't think about it anymore. I just had to shut my mind off to it. Keith, how do I help somebody? Do I drive around with a bunch of blankets? And if I do, are they? Does it matter if they're cheap blankets? Should they be of a certain quality? Is there something? What do the homeless need? What do they need that I can carry around? Like, I know women could use feminine products, and I could carry. I would feel weird though handing those out, right? But blankets, I'd be fine with.
That is
jackets,
really helpful.
Sweatshirts, what do they need? What quality do they need to be? Where can I buy them from? Do I buy them at Goodwill and just carry them in my car? Do I drop them off to you? How do we help? How can I, just the regular Joe, with an extra $20, just something to keep in my trunk, stop by? What do the homeless need? What would be most valuable? Socks, gloves, hat? What?
Well, here's one of the things that we do, and I don't know if we're going to do it tomorrow, but maybe we are, is we set up outside of Costco looking for underwear. Because imagine walking around with...
New underwear?
Yeah, new underwear that you buy at Costco. That's why we set up at Costco. But any kind of coat and jacket. And so we have a distribution every Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 6. At the downtown post office of coats and socks and sleeping bags. And there's a Outward Bound. They come with all the last Outward Bound stuff and bring it there. And the problem is, so I have to give sleeping bags to the same person every week or two because either somebody else steals it, or more commonly, the rangers and the police take it and throw it away.
Right.
And so, if the city would just stop taking people's stuff. So that poor woman in Watsonville, either somebody probably stole her blanket, or it got confiscated, or
the big problem is that
wet.
there's no permanence, right? There's
Right.
nothing that they can put their stuff there and go. That's why that was part of what I liked about the Ross camp. I mean, I don't know if there was how you feel about the Ross camp, but what I liked about it was there was some kind of permanence. So you can keep your stuff there.
Yeah,
And
and
in
you could go off and get a job.
Right.
Right. In Santa Cruz, just recently, Cooper was told by Loudon Nelson that you have to stay with your stuff. So if you have a tent or any belongings and you walk away from it, it will disappear.
Her friend Russell went to the bathroom down to that portable toilet at Laurel Street, where he was at outside of, and Cooper was watching his stuff, and the Rangers just came up and they broke all the poles of a brand new tent and sliced it up and put it in a back.
And they're good people. She was just volunteering.
Yeah.
So before you get off the air,
so blankets, coats, socks, clean underwear,
and donate directly. Don't be afraid to give those
just
things
give
directly
it right to the person. You see. Yeah, just give it to the person you see. A really big thing is look a person in the eye and say hi and ask them their name. What a simple but important thing.
And if you don't want to do any of those things, you can always, if you have gently used clothing, blankets, you can drop them off at the meal, the Food Not Bombs meal at the post office, Saturday and Sunday between 4 and 6. We are welcoming because we have less winter shelter this year than we had last year. So right now, I really feel like it's up to us as a community, since the city is not willing to step up and open more shelter to keep people alive this winter. So we're going to need a lot of donations.
Yeah, you know what? There's a cash program, the cash where when they voted to get rid of everybody out of Ross Camp, they voted to have this committee to talk about homelessness. So they've got, I think now we're up to 3 homeless people in this committee. And so Frank went back to 1220, which is where he's staying, the 1220 River Street, and they wouldn't let him in. And they wouldn't give him his sleeping bag or any of his belongings. So he's volunteering for the city, and he had to wander around all night without a coat.
Nobody should have to be.
And that was last Tuesday. It was freezing.
And cold weather is here
and
already.
There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to sit and be warm in the middle of the night. We have nothing.
I got to take off, MZ. I'm going to be out at the Dave Cave. But before you get off the air, could you be sure to repeat that slowly? Because this is going to be podcasted and it's going to be up again tonight.
Yes,
so
for
people
sure.
will hear it again. How do we help people, just the everyday people? What can I do? The guy with an extra $20.
And
what
there's a
can I
phone
do?
number, too. Can I say my number?
Say it again. Say it right now and then say it again
All right,
later on.
The
I
Santa
gotta
Cruz
take off,
chapter of the California
Dave,
Homeless
thank you.
Union is
Thanks, Dave.
831-431-7766. So if you forgot all that, call me and I can tell you where you can, give donations, or I can even answer your questions. If you're not able to get on this show, you have questions about homelessness, you want to know how you can help, call me. 831-431-7766.
Yep. And if you don't have any money at all and you want to walk up to a payphone and call me at 1-800-884-1136. And people do from all over America looking for food.
Yeah. Okay. As promised, we will open the phone lines. 479-1080. That's in area 831 if you're outside that area code. Or you can email mz@ksco.com. 831-479-1080 or email mz@ksco.com. It's the Saturday special.
I wanted to also remind people that the people living on the streets have an art show that is sponsored by the Santa Cruz Homeless Union and Food Not Bombs. So it'll be on December 1st from 11 to 6 at the downtown post office. And there are amazing artists and musicians and jewelry makers who live on our streets. And they're going to be doing we have the Holiday Arts and Crafts Fair. And the money goes directly 100% to the person you bought the object from.
Yes, so come and buy some art.
Yep.
It'll be fun.
Okay.
And have a meal
Great.
with us, too. We're going to be serving
Yeah,
a
and then
meal.
we'll-
So
And then
that's
we'll have a free
it's
meal.
like 3 weeks, huh?
3 weeks, December 1st, Sunday, December 1st.
Yeah, 3 weeks from tomorrow.
And all you can eat vegan meal.
Okay, great. So Steve in Pacific Grove has persevered Okay, Steve, you're on.
Hey, MZ, thank you for taking my. You don't have to go off the air, buddy. You know, your radio station is one of the last ones that actually has these local things.
It's
on
true,
the air.
but I don't want it to be used by trolls exclusively. I'm just
I'm
so sick of them. You know?
Oh, well, you know, I'll try not to be one.
No, you're not. You're not. Go ahead.
I try to sympathize. You know, one thing that drives me crazy, one of the reasons why I called you so early, is like Dave said, seeing these gals that are down on their luck. How do you separate the wheat from the chaff as far as, you know, trying to get these gals? I mean, boys will be boys. You know, if they want to be knuckleheads and get drunk or get high, whatever. But seeing these poor ladies and young gals, especially, I travel all the way from Coos Bay down to L.A. a lot, and it just drives me crazy as far as that they look like potential victims if you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you separate the wheat from the chaff? The food not bomb guy. I mean, I don't know. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Good. Well, you're
Thank
asking.
you.
Both
That's a
of them.
great question.
Okay.
Well, I'm not so sure I can answer this one, that we need to necessarily separate. I like to think that no matter what your situation, everybody's worthy of having their basic needs met, and everyone needs a home. And the cheapest solution to this problem of homelessness is providing shelter, providing homes. So I don't think we need to separate and decide who's worthy. I think that everyone is.
And the
Well,
sad
what's
thing.
the end game, though?
Well,
What's
the end game should be housing, and sadly, you know, investment bankers and so on who are you know, building housing now are building luxury housing, which is great for people that can afford a $2 million studio apartment in downtown Santa Cruz. But there needs to be a policy, and there was a policy in the New Deal, which was very poorly implemented with these high-rise, housing projects and stuff. It can be done much better, but there needs to be the political will. So I've talked to Dr. Leff a lot when he was the head of environmental health here, the health department in Santa Cruz. And he received, I think, an estimate, the department got $20 million for drug rehab and mental health services. And he could not find any place to place any of those programs because of pushback. And last Sunday.
So did the money go away?
I don't know what even happens to the money. And there's, the county just was allocated $2.6 million for youth homelessness. Who knows even where that went to? We got $20 million that came in for homelessness on another.
Well, it mostly goes on employing, the employees of these places.
Yeah, right.
Like the Salvation Army runs 1220 River. They have, 5 or 6 employees getting benefits and really good wages to watch, 60 people who are mostly sleeping or not there during the day. So these places are mostly abusing the money, using it on staff, and then it's a trickle-down effect. The homeless don't actually get any of the money or the services that were meant for them.
Yeah, and HUD has had this horrible policy since the 80s of essentially, really, literally trillions of dollars have been just diverted out of HUD into who knows what kind of scams, but it doesn't show up on the streets as being a solution.
Okay, well. So to be positive here, scams need to be uncovered and exposed. Well, your word, and stopped, obviously.
And stopped, yeah. And these people need to be prosecuted. The people that have, like the savings, during the savings and loan crisis, which is something I know a great deal about, I got a group together and we started an organization called Homes Not Jails. And we did research on we went and we did a catalog of all the abandoned buildings in town. In San Francisco is where I'm doing this. And we went and we found out that they're all like a bunch of mortgage companies owned every building. No one really knew who they were. So we just took the locks off them, put our own locks on them, and fixed each of the buildings. We had, according to this book called No Trespassing, we had 400 buildings, and we housed people in 100 of them. And we just had the building trades people that lived on the streets help us restore these buildings. And we would make a lease for the people. We would turn on the electricity and the water. And homeless families, and we've targeted the families and the most disabled people originally for the first 100 houses. And right now there's millions of houses in America that are just empty. Yet we have millions of people living on the streets. So there could be a nationwide policy to pay the people that are living outside that are capable, that are already skilled tradespeople,
Which
to
there
repair.
are more than people realize,
Yep.
right? So.
And they get out there and they rebuild these houses and they restore them. There's the Chinese restaurant on Water Street. The county shut that down because people were living in there. The staff was living in the apartments at the building.
I
Which
drove by
shows
there
the need.
yesterday,
That's crazy.
and I love that place. It was a wonderful restaurant.
Yeah, and they had employed people living
But
there.
they had to live there. I mean, that kind of shows the state of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
And I noticed that it was boarded up. I said, wait a minute, I was going to go there to eat,
Yeah.
And now I can't because it's boarded up. And then I read somewhere, in the Sentinel or something, why that it had been shut down by the government and by the local health officials.
And that may have caused more homelessness. So because
Of
they had
course
to
it
live
did.
there to
Of
survive,
course it
now
did.
they're extra homeless.
Yeah. See, another simple solution immediately would be to stop towing cars that people live in. You could save so many lives.
Well,
in
because
this.
vehicles are the last affordable option. Can we just be honest? In Santa
Yeah.
Cruz, that's affordable housing right now is your vehicle.
Yeah, so for the chief of police, Andy Mills, to do a public relations thing about how great it was, he was kicking everyone off of Delaware and towing all their homes.
Yay,
So
we
those people came
great.
to Food Not Bombs and like, I just lost everything.
Yep.
I lost my everything that I owned.
It's sad.
Because all that happened was that they went like over to that portable toilet over in the park, and when they come back, their car's gone with everything in it. So you don't take like your birth certificate and necessarily your ID and everything to go to the bathroom. It takes two people to go to the bathroom if you're an unhoused person in this city. One person to watch your stuff
Yep.
while you go to the bathroom.
And the police
That's
target
crazy.
these areas like Delaware. They know that because, that's the last place that there's some parking, that, a lot of people in RVs and vans go and park there. So they use these, I feel like, as just kind of routes to go.
Yeah, and people do it, they're being respectful. See, that's the thing. When I lived in my van for, even here in Santa Cruz, and so when I lived I would find a place where there was no houses. I didn't want to bum people out by sleeping in my van in front of their house. And so here these people have the courtesy to park along natural bridges so they're not bothering anybody.
But they don't let you. They went and posted no midnight to 6 a.m. parking.
Yeah.
So they kind of force you around here. I feel like they have forced you into neighborhoods where the people will call the police on you because they're worried about, who's this person in my neighborhood, versus letting you park in these industrial areas or these areas where it wouldn't bother anybody at all. I think that's control because they feel like they have to keep a real, real close eye on these homeless people. That could potentially be, scary. This is the anti-homeless hysteria.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our family. My brother was the most gentle, loving person he was unbelievable. And he and his wife lived outside for 25 years. And the first 18 years they lived with their daughter. She's like such a remarkable woman today. And was even then. And they never would have hurt a soul.
You know how difficult it is for me when I'm in city council and I'm at these cash meetings and someone stands up and says, please, if you put a homeless center or a transitional encampment, please make sure that it's not in neighborhoods, parks,
Near schools.
That's offensive. That is so offensive. I'm a mom. I have kids. Why can't I be around schools and parks and neighborhoods? It's a hateful profiling that's totally unnecessary. Homeless people are not scary. They're people like me. I just make food for my kids at night, and they go to school too. Why can't we be around the school? We got to stop the anti-homeless hysteria because it stops the solutions and the community buy-in. So every time something gets proposed that's solution-based, the whole community is at an outrage. Oh no, we can't have that. Oh my God. It's fear. You know, we know what the solution, we know what needs to happen, and we know what's the most fiscally responsible way to do it. It's housing. But people are too afraid to let it happen.
And if you have housing and you are, if the number one thing is a safe place to be indoors, and that is, and it's shown that addiction, if you are, a drug addict or alcoholic,
You should still be indoors.
in you're indoors, you're more likely to recover. You're much more likely to recover. There's a great program in Oakland and Berkeley that was organized, and that was the very first thing they do. They put you in the house. You are strung out on meth. They get you into a place because they know that's the only way to stabilize a person.
Because it's really easy. Well, I shouldn't say really easy. It's a lot more easy
Okay.
to work on your secondary issues when your basic needs are met.
Correct.
You guys are amazing guests. You're on a roll. But I've invited
You
callers.
gotta get calls.
It's only there's only a half hour left.
I know,
a little
that's
more than a
amazing.
half hour.
One call, it went on 30
Steve
minutes.
in Pacific Grove, thank you for calling 479-1080. Here's Richard, also in Pacific Grove, about homeless veterans. Richard, you're on.
Yeah, Michael, I so totally disagree with what I just heard from your guests that I think you should have me on and let me talk about it with them the next time.
Okay,
Because
well you're
what I
on
heard-
you're on now. You're on. So encapsulate
so-
what's bothering you. Okay, about what he said.
Well, what bothers me is, first of all, any veteran, I didn't hear the beginning of his story, but any veteran who really is on the streets because he's been forced on the streets and hasn't been able to get help through the VA, please let them call your radio station, leave their telephone number, or somehow I can get in contact with them. Because I took a guy off the streets as recently as 2 months ago, totally homeless, totally this. I took him out to Fort Ord. I walked right into, within 3 hours, this guy was in a hotel room. We started processing to get his Social Security. We got him food, and we got him clothing. We have an abundance of clothing out at Fort Ord. There's absolutely no reason for a veteran not to have a jacket or clothing. That's just a fallacy. As far as Dave, what I also do is I drive around, and I bought 100 of these emergency blankets. Okay, I just gave 30 away yesterday. So I have emergency blankets in my car 90% of the time. If I see somebody that's cold and it's going to be a cold night, I just give them a blanket. You can get them as cheap as $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Okay.
At Walmart.
The problem with a lot of the homeless, you're just talking about, well, they just want to park their car in their neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. But they don't police themselves. They drop their litter. They drop their excrement all over the place. And other homeless people will tell you that, because I know a lot of people that are living in their vans, and they say they have to stay away from these people. Okay? The mental health issue is the criteria. But as far as drug addicts, if people are drug addicts and they don't want to get into programs, they don't want to get better, I'm sorry. I really don't have sympathy for them. I know you do, or your guests do, but I don't.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions in there. I don't know any homeless person that likes to be homeless, and I do know that they're just like,
Well, then you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
There's a
You're
percentage.
absolutely wrong, because I've gone down to the wharf. I've offered these people, some of these people, I've offered them the housing through the Veteran Transition Program. I've offered them steps to get out, different programs that are available. And they say, you know what? We kind of like living on the beach. We're with our people. And this is all we want. They're getting Social Security. They're getting all kinds of money that you and I aren't even aware of.
I think you're glorifying the lifestyle, and that's the false narrative. I mean, I know you're saying that and that you've heard that, but that's not my experience with the homeless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why we should get on, and we can bring different people, Come down to Monterey and go under the wharf and introduce yourself to some of those wharf rats and see what they say when you offer them help. This is their lifestyle. They choose to live this way.
So,
okay, I am telling you, I've done it. I'm not making this up. I have no reason to do that.
I mean,
I've
there's
got
a
good
bad
life.
apple in every bunch, but I mean, so
It's
I'm
not just an apple. It's a whole basket. It's a whole basket.
Well, I run a
Come by.
I run a safe parking program that at least 20 to 25 people park every single night, and I don't even know some of them. They just know of the location, and they come and park, and everybody's respectful. We don't have any of the problems with litter or anything that you're mentioning, and I know dozens of successful programs that are similar, and so I know that.
Well, then maybe we should get together, because I can take you right out to the Del Monte, the dump out there, and you see the people alongside the road, and they started there with their vans, they started there with their motorhomes, and now they've got garbage all over the place.
Well, not that everything is free of problems, but I'm just saying I have been witness to dozens of successful programs, and I like to avoid the narrative that all homeless people are doing that. We like
I'm not saying
where
all,
we,
no,
where we
don't
live,
make
and
me
a lot of
bad
people
guy.
wouldn't trash the area that they're living in, especially around their vehicle. There are a lot of people that do not like that.
But the other thing that I
But
know,
a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And that's what makes it very bad, very difficult. I personally don't want homeless people in my neighborhood. If that makes me a rat, then I'm a rat, and I take it, because I've seen what they've done.
You're falsely labeling all homeless people, though, into one category. So by saying that,
I
that means
didn't label.
you said homeless people, so that means you wouldn't want me or my family in your neighborhood.
Well, probably not. If you're the type of person that drops garbage all over the place, I didn't label
But that's
all.
what I'm
Never
not.
say
That's what
all.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm actually a really good person. Just last week, I helped a kid
I'm
who
sure
fell
you
off
are.
his bike by my RV.
I think you've got a great heart. I
helped
think
him
you've
call
got a
his
great heart. You're a
mom.
wonderful person.
So why wouldn't you want me in your neighborhood?
yeah,
I think you're a wonderful person, but you're not encouraging a change in what we really have to happen. The numbers are getting exponentially worse and worse. More and more people are.
why are they becoming?
know.
Are they coming out? Everybody is like, see, this idea that the 8-10 million Americans decided it would be much nicer to live in a tent outside and be chased around, and then the every week, last week, this really nice young woman came to me and said, "You have Janice's phone number. I want to go into Janice," and so I gave her the local phone number, and of course. And this happens all the time. You have to call every day for, I believe it's now 60 days before they feel that you are really allowed to get in. And you miss one day, your 60 days starts over because there's not enough resources. And so when they tried to create more locations with the millions of dollars that were given by the state and the federal government for more alcohol and drug treatment centers, they couldn't find any place to put them. And the thing is, if you're in a sober living facility for the purpose of becoming clean and sober, you are clean and sober, and you're inside a house. So why are the people that are angry about all the drug addicts and blah, blah, blah all around stopping solutions? The other one is, imagine if at Delaware, say, just an example, there's a huge outcry, oh, we can't have Delaware. My grandfather started the tidal pool walks at Natural Bridges. I have a lot of, personal love for that that neighborhood, for that state park. But they could put a dumpster and portable toilets there. Then there would be no trash and there would be no excrement.
Yep.
But if you block the ability to put a dumpster and portable toilets in locations that are appropriate, you could be on Mission Extension, which is all warehouses, and have like a safe parking place there, and put a dumpster and toilets there, and people would all go there and be there.
Well,
but the neighborhood, who isn't even really living there, stopped it from happening.
I call it cutting off
I
your
don't
nose
know,
to spite your face, really. The solutions are there. But see, like you said, you don't want maybe me or anybody else in your neighborhood. But when we propose, like, hey, let's set up this camp, let's do this, it's the same narrative that you just said that's stopping
all the solutions
from happening. So
no, absolutely not. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm saying that the problems that we've had with homelessness have not gotten better. And all this empathy that you have for all these people that are out there, they're all good guys, they're just drunks, they're just drug addicts, blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of them got tattoos all over their body. They're not clean, they're not dirty. And it scares the hell out of a lot of people. That's reality.
There's a lot of judgment in that statement.
being reality, okay?
Well, yeah.
And people are afraid of that stuff.
Yeah, but
Afraid of tattoos and people that drink. If there's nothing I can do. If you're afraid of
I
that.
respectfully let you talk. Let me talk, okay? I'm trying to talk I want solutions. I hate seeing this.
Do you have any solutions? Do you have any solutions?
Yeah, I do.
Richard?
I think I have a better solution.
It's all yours.
I think I have a better-
Tell us. Tell us
Are
what
you
it
ready?
is. I'm ready.
We develop an area, maybe out in the desert, maybe out in some area that are unincorporated zones, okay? And we put these tents, these giant tents, okay? And we have rules and regulations. And we bring these people in here where they can get better, where they can get the help they want. And then
Like a
once they've
concentration
done
camp?
this and they, Jesus Christ, you know?
Hey,
There you go.
were gonna
Who's more negative than you?
let
Who's
him.
more negative than you? Okay? We're looking for solutions. We're looking for solutions. We have young men and women dying on the streets in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, all over the place because you're playing by the same rules and nothing is getting done. Everything's getting worse. Don't call me a hater. Don't call me a monster. Just pay attention, okay? We have a stand down for the military where people go in there and they are offered all types of help and all that stuff. And it seems to work. I'm saying let's do the same thing. Let's get them together. Let's offer them services and really get rid of those who don't want help and separate them from those who really are looking for help. There are some people you're just not going to be able to help, and that's reality.
If you
That's
became
reality.
homeless, would you want to live in that environment that you just described?
If I became homeless, that would be up to me, and of course, I would look for any type of work or help that I could get. I would never be homeless because I've never been a victim, okay? Never been a victim. I'm a veteran. I come from a poor background, but I've never been a victim, okay? So I'll never be homeless. There's nothing that's going to happen to me. I will work. I will pick dog do out of somebody else's cleats if I have to support myself.
I mean, it's
go ahead.
very interesting. So over the 40 years I've been out on the streets doing this,
Right.
I have met many people that have said exactly what you have been saying. Many people.
Right.
And many, it's rather shocking the number of people who have told me that they would never be homeless, that they should all be, just exactly word for word what you have just said. And then 2-3 years later, they come up to me and said, I did everything right and I am homeless. And
They obviously didn't do everything right. They didn't save.
You've never heard of a victim of circumstance?
They spent. Of course, I've heard of victims of circumstance.
Not everyone
But
chooses.
you're not going to tell me.
You don't choose to be a victim.
Tell me that
you know
those
that, right?
So the people in Paradise, California, who were so stupid as to have bought a house in Paradise, California, who are now wandering the streets of Santa Cruz, many of them, because many of them were priced out of their homes here in Santa Cruz and have returned. They did everything right, including buy a house that was burned to the ground by PG&E. So that you hopefully you don't live anywhere where you get service from PG&E. And hopefully you don't live anywhere where there's earthquakes.
I really
and
hope
hopefully
your
you
life
don't
plays out
live
like you
anywhere
planned.
where there's floods.
What are you talking about? I live in Pacific Grove. I have PG&E, and I just went through the earthquakes like everybody else. So don't make up this scenario.
It's not a made-up scenario. I fed the people that survived Loma Prieta, and many of those people lost their houses. And then they were the good victims who lost their houses, no fault of their own. And 12 months later, those exact same people were the people who were the horrible homeless that you're talking about.
It could be.
So they didn't have insurance on
it.
They didn't have insurance on the homes that they lost?
They were tenants, possibly, for example.
Okay, they didn't have any insurance on their own stuff.
No, they didn't have the down payment.
Whose fault is that? Is that my fault? I mean, if there's renter's insurance, if you're going to go live in a fire zone or whatever, then you have to think about renter's insurance. I have to pay insurance on every one of my vehicles, on my home, on everything I do.
Renters insurance won't stop
Have you ever
from being
had
homeless.
have you ever had to sue your insurance company to get the money to
Coverage.
rebuild your house.
There's two
all
things that insurance
We're getting
companies
so
do.
far- we're
They
getting so
collect
far off the.
they collect premiums and they deny claims.
Yeah,
That's
right.
all
Yeah.
insurance companies
Yeah,
do,
it's-
mostly. you know.
Yeah, we have to be realistic here.
Hey,
This is-
Richard, you're a good guy. I love you. Keith is a good guy. Alicia's a good guy too.
Thank
yeah, yeah. So, but can't we all just get along here? Because you, Richard, whom I love and I appreciate,
And
and you
who's
really
great,
think, and you
handing out
really,
blankets and
you
stuff.
really
It's
think
great.
straight.
Yes, that's great.
But you know, can't we just get along and not be hot-headed sounding and just try to work out civil solutions?
You know what? And I love you too. I love your show and everything. But Michael, the reality is that we've had these same types of people running these organizations, and to me, they can't see the forest from the trees. Okay.
Okay. Well,
we're not all great. We're
it's-
not all great people. We're not
I
all
agree with
noble
you, and
savages.
I'm likening it to the Trump administration, which has
Right.
shaken the last 50 years of government to its knees here, and I'm happy as can
Exactly.
be about it. Okay, but I don't see. And for all, I don't know. I don't think Keith and I have had this discussion. I'm assuming that Keith doesn't think very much of Trump.
Yeah, I'm not wild about Trump, but
Okay.
I'm not wild about the Democrats either.
Yeah. Okay. But what I've taken note of about Keith and getting to know him and listening him, and I wish I would have listened to his radio program. In fact, I want Keith to do a radio program on Keith and Alicia. Maybe do a regular radio, a solutions-oriented, not bitching-oriented radio program on KSCO,
Thank
a
you.
regular one. Now,
Thank
hey,
you.
Griffin Queener, would you get on the mic? You brought me that note about Dr. Biles. He wants to give up his next hour or something like that.
Yeah, he would rather go to his grandson's soccer game, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
so yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're on a roll. You want to start? You want to start at 1 and 2 o'clock, or do you have to be somewhere
I have to
else?
go cook for 200 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if I could I could take Uber and you could stay on, Alicia.
Well,
On the spot
but
here.
this is what I would.
Yeah.
Here's what I was thinking. Here's what I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, I've got to leave. I've got to leave at noon because it's the 68th anniversary of my birth. I got to get up to the city and do some fun stuff up there.
Right.
Okay, but if I wanted you or you and you to be to kick this thing off, because I didn't know this was going to happen.
No,
I didn't know Dr. Biles was going to call and say, "Hey, this is so good a show. Would you like to take a third hour? Because I'd rather go do something with my family." So I didn't know that. So I
Yeah.
was going to suggest to you that you just do the next hour as a host, not the guest. And just sort of get your feet wet. You've been a host before on
Yeah, I've been a
Pacifica,
host,
you said.
yeah.
Be a host,
Yeah.
Keith.
Well,
What
let
do you
me.
think?
Well, during the break, let me call and
Is
see
that
if I
going to
can.
screw up a lot of people here that depend on you for their food?
Well, let me call people and see if I've got some cooks that can take
Fill
over.
in,
Okay,
Yeah.
why don't you do that now? Can you do that
Yeah.
now? Because we need a. What's the last word with Dr. Biles? Is he heading in?
Yeah, he said that he's on his way still. He'll be listening on the radio to hear what your guys' conclusion is.
Okay. How soon can you?
It might take me till 12 noon to find
Oh,
somebody.
really?
but-
Oh, okay. All right. Well, can we listen to your phone call? No, I'm only. But we got a full board. And Richard, thank you for calling. You were a great call as always. And I know your heart's in the right place, and I know Keith's is, and I know Alicia's is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Dave, could you just do me one more thing, Dave? Michael?
Yes.
Would you just really encourage any veteran that hasn't been getting the help that he needs to call me or call you, and I'll give you my number offline?
I've got it. I already.
Because
yeah.
I just, you got it, right?
Yeah. It ends in 6-0, right?
Roger that. Yeah, just get me in touch with these people because.
Okay.
I'll
Did you hear
straighten it
that?
out.
We'll do a promo too. Veterans who need help, call. We'll set up a website. They'll automatically get in touch with you. I'll have Jonty do that.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we'll
You're the
be.
best.
Yeah. What
Okay.
our main cook? Well, a lot of we cook at the Vets Hall, and our principal cook is Sea Otter. He's I think he's 8th generation Santa Cruz or maybe more. And he, we've worked with him. And we finally he's gone blind, and but there's surgery that can help him. And now we're taking him over. I'm driving to Good Samaritan.
Yeah, we've just got to sort of get it all organized.
Yeah.
And I think KSCO could be a great agent in
I think so,
organizing
too.
some of these efforts.
Yeah.
Richard, thank you very much. To everybody who's
welcome.
on
Thank you,
hold,
Michael.
I promise we will get to you, even though there's only 15 minutes, starting with Sally. Wow, what is it? Sally's in Pacific Grove also.
Wow.
All the callers have been Pacific Grovians almost. Go ahead, Sally, you're on.
It's all because we're loving, caring people.
Yes.
And beautiful flowers and views and
Yes.
all.
I love our town. But I want you to know, my church, I work with my church for the homeless women, and the difference between the poor folks that are either drug addicted or alcohol addicted and the ones that are truly down on their luck. For one thing, the percentage is huge. The ones that are down on their luck are about 2 people, and the other 34 people are all either alcohol or drug addicted. And the ones that are down on their luck are appreciative. They have good appetites. They're looking for work. They have family that helps them, etc. And the ones that are drug and alcohol, they don't eat very much. They look very ill. They get pissed when the shampoo's not the shampoo they want. It is pitiful. It really is. And I've often wondered, why don't their families help them? And then I found out they have. Almost every one of them have lived at home and gotten thrown out because they either stole from their parents or they have a drug and alcohol addiction issue, and they keep thinking that if they can just give them shelter, they're wrong. That is not helping them. They need to have a place to go, etc., where it is required that they get help. Because once they start getting the help, they usually finish it up. My brother-in-law has a pain management and addiction clinic in Jackson, California. Are you there?
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
We are all listening.
I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
And
Alicia is not happy at what she hears.
24/7 counseling. They have a place for the people. He gives them the shots for whatever the other drug is that doesn't wreak havoc on their bodies. That and some of these people come in suit and tie, but they are desperate to get help. And I think ignoring the drug and alcohol issue with the homeless is a terrible, terrible, unfair thing. And I know they don't always want to be cured because they like their drugs. But the fact is, they need someone to say, no, you can't do this anymore. If you had diabetes, we wouldn't just walk away from you. We would make you take your insulin. And I'm going to take your answer off the air, okay?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sally. Appreciate your call. You were rolling your eyes and you were...
Well, I think that there was so much false narrative involved in that, and that's the message that's going around. And once that seed's planted in people's head, I mean, that's kind of where the community thinks that things are, and I just think that's not true. I mean, I don't know where she got those figures from.
Yes, just an example. My brother went to Tanglewood, which is a very famous music school, and something occurred there, and he destabilized him mentally, and so he ended up ultimately on the streets, like I said, for 25 years with his wife, but he passed out from diabetes at a soup kitchen in Hyannis, Massachusetts, and fortunately, people there at the hospital realized that he actually was bipolar, and they gave him medication. He stopped drinking. He ended up getting Section 8 housing. He got in. But my father just hated my brother, and it was it was horrible, heartbreaking. And so, and my brother didn't do anything to my dad. It's just that my dad was like, I don't like his religion. I don't like his, because my brother became Jehovah's Witness. And my dad was Episcopalian. And he just had hatred. And so it's not always the actual person on the street that is the problem. It can also be the parents or the family, or many people don't even have family.
I was going to say that.
Or the families are how many people living on the streets, their families are living precariously and could be evicted if they had too many people living with them. until we walk in the shoes of these
Keith,
people,
you need
we
to
do
make
not
your
know.
you need to make your calls so you know whether you could be the host of the next hour.
And also, homelessness and substance abuse are separate issues. Sometimes they go together, and sometimes they don't. It's really unfair to put substance abuse and act like that's a homeless problem, or that most people that are homeless are experiencing substance abuse.
Yeah, so it's not. Many people that I know. I mean, imagine if you got woken up by the police over and over again. 2 times, 3 times a night, told to move, have to lift all your stuff, move down the street. You might end up numbing your senses by, it's cheaper to buy like booze or something, or maybe nothing. Maybe people appear like drunk and on drugs because they're tired from being forced to run around. It's crazy.
And we need successful programs. That's another element to this, is that we need successful programs. So
Sally wanted to take her answer off the air, and she's doing that now. But I made the mistake by not asking her what her solution was before she left. Anyhow, we have about 9 minutes, less than 9 minutes, more like 8 minutes left in the program. So I'm going to take our next caller, which is Colonel Terry, who has a compliment, which is a rare circumstance. Go ahead, Terry.
Compliment people at your station for doing good work. And you're doing good work today, MZ, by having this topic. I applaud your program and the initiative you've taken and the entire content. However, and I also want to add, they described that Mr. Bernal, the city manager for Santa Cruz, and the Kandati, the city attorney, had been dishonest in dealing with them. I've had that same experience. I've had observations of it. And we should not tolerate Mr. Bernal's dishonesty and moving the cheese when he deals with members such as the group here. Enough said.
Hey, thank you, Colonel Terry. Appreciate it. Our next caller will be Angel in Santa Cruz about building homes. Angel or Angel, you're on.
Hey, hi, and thank you for having me on the air. A lot of things that has been discussed today on your show is some of the things that I wanted to chime in about. So I'll just have to go and say that a lot of things that Keith and Alicia were speaking on, I absolutely agree with a lot of things they said. I think the solution to our homeless issue is to simply, get people into housing. And with your prior caller who stated that he thinks that they should be banished to deserts and, away from society, basically, I totally think that that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. I think it's disgusting the way some people that live in houses treat some people that don't have houses. Myself, for instance, I'm homeless. I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I don't like to see litter. I try to keep any area that I'm, parked at, because I live in my vehicle, clean. And if I see anybody littering, I'll address them. Hey, can you, not litter there? Because it gives the rest of the people a bad name. And I've only actually had to do that a few times. Not everybody is on drugs or alcohol. There's plenty of college students out there that are unhoused and striving to make themselves better. I just think we can absolutely do better as a country. And to get our people, and to get our homeless people off the streets and into housing would strengthen our country as a whole. What's going on right now doesn't make sense. And
There is a way, and we at KSCO want to find that way, or at least be, be part of the solution.
We need to.
And I would actually flip the script, based on what that lady said, and say that it's the majority swings the other way. A majority of the people are like you and myself. We don't like garbage. We don't like violence. We don't litter in our areas. I think that it's the opposite of what the lady said, how there's, majority are bad people and there are only a couple good apples. I think it's actually the other way around.
I agree. I've seen a lot of people that have good hearts.
Yeah, is your name Angel? Do I say?
Angel, yeah.
Angel, thank you so much for calling the Saturday Special and making it a better program. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the air.
Okay. Here's Capitola Gray. Hi. So
I couldn't get a hold of anybody.
you couldn't? Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I don't know. I don't know whether Dr. Biles is coming in or not.
I could do it by phone while I'm...
You can do it by phone?
But I'd have to cook and do it by phone at the same time. We could be up. You could stay. Well, I have to. Yeah, it's kind of not the easiest way.
Yeah. So yeah, can't do it. But oh well, we tried.
Let's. Okay, next Saturday, 3 hours.
Yeah. No. Well, no. We need. I don't know, and we still don't know whether Dr. Biles is headed. We might do a worst of perspective. No, a best of perspective.
All right.
We might do that. Anyhow, Capitola Gray, you're on.
Yeah, usually you hear me singing, but this is last, was it a couple weeks ago or something when Keith was on? That was the best show ever, except for one caller. And then today, I'm glued to the radio, stopping everything. But I've learned in life that ignorance can turn into stupidity, and stupidity can turn into evilness, at least in perception. And that one guy, Richard, I got to say, he doesn't know a lot like what Alicia was just like taking words out of my mouth and my thoughts out of my brain. They know much more than the local community that says, you know, that's getting all this money and says that they know the right thing to do. I say the first thing to stop all the ruckus is leave people alone, whether they're millionaires or whether there's an underground too that people don't even know. When people come to your parties, you don't know if they're homeless or not. You know, I don't go up and ask somebody, hey, where do you live? And then if somebody's attacking you, it might not be a homeless person. I don't care if it's a homeless person or they're living in a $3 million house. It's go after the crimes. I'm sitting in a car right by a house that we used to have here, Rio Del Mar, and it's maybe $2.5 million right now. And people used to complain about a house lady that her paint was flaking or something. It's like, look the other way. There's a whole ocean there. Just leave people alone. That's all I have to say. And thank you for this show.
Thank you, Gray. Appreciate it. Yeah, okay, so let's see. Next caller will be Art in Prunedale. Art in Prunedale.
Hello, MZ. Hi, and your guest. I just want to comment that Richard from Pacific Grove and the lady Sally that followed him up were excellent with great ideas, and I'm glad that you might be working with Richard to solve some of these problems. Richard, I know, I've run into him working with the homeless from time to time. He's a veteran. He works with a lot of volunteers, and he does a lot of volunteer work. And I would say that his experience as a layperson out there, he doesn't get paid. He has nothing to gain from this. His ideas were fantastic. Sally was right on. She works at her church. That's where she gets her data from. She said 2 people were homeless because of need, and the other 30 people were drug addicts and drunks. So that's where she gets her data from. And I hope that you guys work with Richard and can solve this problem. So thank you so much for
we're going to do everything we can to make something positive happen. Dr. Biles is in the building, so you're going to be sitting here in the host chair as you normally were. Were you going to do an open mic, David, or were you going to, did you want to continue this yourself if one of the guests stays? Because we could do that if we know you have to leave. But Alicia, what do you think? I mean, Dr. Biles is here now, and I think he's on his way in. Yeah, you got other things happening or what?
I'd really be happy to sponsor.
Here.
I'm happy to sponsor the next hour because I caught some of the show, and I think what you have to share with the community is awesome. It would be to my benefit if someone else would host it, if that's okay, simply because...
Well, Alicia, you're ready. You and Griffin Queener could host the show and start the ball rolling. What do you think?
Let's give it a try. Happy to have that happen. I can make the soccer game on time. Make my grandson happy.
Yeah, it's not fair to just dump this on Alicia, who hasn't had a radio show like I just learned.
Yeah, it's absolutely not fair.
Yeah, but you can sort of sit here in Dr. Biles' seat, right, for the next hour.
I mean, sure, I'll have to take
with
the phone
Alicia,
calls too,
and then you'll take phone calls. You can screen the phone calls just like Dave Michaels does, and he's running the show too.
Okay.
You know, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Is
we
that
can
okay
try
with
it.
you,
I mean,
Alicia?
it's only an hour.
This could be the beginning of a new.
This is how we train people. You
Yeah.
You know, you watch one, you do one, you teach